He's got room. Barones to beat him. There he goes.
And Brown's going to take it all the way for the touchdown.
Brown out in front, and nobody's going to catch him.
Antonio Brown was once the NFL's golden boy, but today he's better known for his bizarre antics off the field. How did it all go wrong? Once considered the best receiver in the NFL since Jerry Rice, Antonio Brown seemed to hit the self-destruct button on his career. Despite being a Super Bowl champion, I think everyone is just going to remember AB for some of the strangest decisions an NFL player has ever made. The Yak Fam just had to dig into the strange and at times ridiculous career of Antonio Brown. This might shock a lot of people who know AB as one of the most outspoken players in NFL history, but Antonio Brown began his career as a relatively unknown prospect. Despite the fact that he came from a footballing family, AB never got much recognition coming out of high school. He originally applied to play his college football at Florida State University, but Brown was denied based on the fact that his academics didn't match the level that the university was looking for. After getting a scholarship to stay in his home state of Florida and play at Florida International University, Brown got into a fight with security that caused him to be expelled before the football season began. But at Central Michigan, it seemed like Brown had finally found a home where he could flourish. After a few weeks as a walk-on wide receiver, Brown got a scholarship offer and the university found their next superstar. At this time, we're still getting some indication of the problems that would surround AB in the future. He was often late to meetings and practices, with wide receivers coach Zach Azzani helping him settle into a routine that turned Brown into a superstar. He had over 3,000 yards receiving across his 3-year stint with Central Michigan, being named a first-team All-American twice and the MAC Freshman of the Year. Despite setting the world on fire, he was still only ranked as a 5th or 6th round pick, eventually going 195th overall. AB set off his career with a chip on his shoulder, picking the number 84 because 8 times 4 is 32, and all 32 teams in the NFL passed up on him during the draft. This sort of mindset definitely helped advance his career. In his rookie campaign, it was pretty impressive that Brown managed to feature in 10 games considering the amount of talent he was playing against. He even became an important contributor in the playoffs, catching the game-winning touchdown in his very first postseason appearance. After a good rookie season, very few people saw Antonio Brown having the exceptional 2011 season that he would go on to have. He benefited from Antoine Randall leaving the Steelers to become the starter for this team, as well as the starting kick and punt returner. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers put a lot of faith into Brown, and it certainly paid off. He got off to a slow start, doing well to keep himself out of trouble while trying to fit into the team. By week 7, Brown had his first 100-yard game and was consistently producing brilliant return stats. Whenever the Steelers got the ball into his hands, AB proved to be dangerous. His sophomore season saw Brown become the very first player in league history to rack up more than 1,000 yards receiving and returning in a single season. An incredible achievement. It was clear very quickly that the Steelers had themselves a future superstar. It was after this brilliant season that the Steelers knew they had to sign up their superstar, with Brown signing a 5-year deal worth $42.5 million alongside a massive $8.5 million signing bonus. This contract was a huge moment for Brown, but a lot of people said it got to his head. Brown's former teammate Ryan Clark tells a story about the day that AB signed that contract. At practice later that same day, some jostling between Brown and a defensive veteran led to Steelers defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau yelling at the receiver. As you might expect, AB was not happy about his treatment. A fight eventually broke out, with Brown supposedly even getting into it with Steelers legend Troy Polamalu. In the fight, AB yelled at players on the defense, saying, "Don't touch me, I'm the franchise." Clark claims the fight started because of Brown's ego, and that would not be a shock considering all of the strange decisions he makes. Despite the disagreements with teammates, Brown still continued his rise to one of the best wide receivers in the league. Back in the Pro Bowl in 2013, Brown would lead the league in receptions and receiving yards the following season. He was voted first-team All-Pro that same season. Electric on the field, Brown became undoubtedly the best receiver in the league at this time, and fans were wondering how high he could put himself on the all-time list. AB looked like the next guy to follow in the footsteps of Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. But at this time, Brown was still making some ridiculous decisions that left plenty of people scratching their heads. In the very first game of the 2014 season, the Steelers receiver was returning a punt. After shimmying away from multiple defenders, all AB had to do was round the punter Spencer Lanning, and he was in for a touchdown. AB always had electric speed, so a punter was not going to be much of a problem. So it was shocking to everyone when Brown attempted to hurdle landing, failed, and kicked the punter right in the face. He did later apologize, but it was still a shockingly strange decision from AB. There was certainly a lot more of that to come from the Steelers receiver. The same season that Brown was ranked by his colleagues as the 4th best player in the entirety of the NFL, his strange decisions started to affect his relationship with his teammates and the entirety of the Steelers organization. Before the start of the 2016 season, AB signed a deal with Facebook to post live content for the site. It was not the sort of deal that went down well with his head coach, Mike Tomlin, who's always been more of the old-fashioned type. So Tomlin was extremely upset that AB streamed the post-game celebrations of the Steelers after they beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. It fed into the narrative that AB was self-centered. For a lot of people, this was seen as the start of Brown's downfall. At the very same time that his coach was calling for the Steelers to be cool on social media, his wide receiver was live streaming their celebrations to the world. The following season, Brown's feud with the coaching staff became very clear for people to see. While plenty of players don't get on with their coaches, very few of them decided to throw Gatorade coolers and berate their coaches on the sidelines with cameras everywhere catching every single angle. 2018 ended up being his final season with the team, where an argument with his QB Ben Roethlisberger led to Brown being benched. Brown skipped practices to force a move, but his off-the-field antics started to rack up. While some of Antonio Brown's behavior up to this point has been odd, his behavior since 2018 has been downright freakish. In that fateful final season in Pittsburgh, Brown threw furniture out the window of his 14th floor apartment and was stopped for driving more than 100 miles an hour through Pittsburgh. Somehow, the receiver got away with a fine, but at this point, he was desperate to leave the Steelers. That final week of the season was the point that pushed the organization to move him. The move seemed a strange one, but Mike Tomlin looked like a genius not long after AB went to the Raiders. At this time, Brown was accused of sexual assault, an accusation that clouded his move to the Raiders. The case would eventually be settled out of court 2 years later, but it didn't stop Brown from making stupid decisions in what some people see as the worst move in NFL history. AB would miss a huge amount of Raiders training camp because he had gotten frostbite in his feet due to not wearing the proper footwear in a cryotherapy chamber. That wasn't even the end of his problems in training camp, with Brown threatening to retire from the league because his old helmet was banned from the NFL. His grievances and missed practices eventually led to Brown having some heated altercations with Raiders GM Mike Mayock, including threatening to hit Mayock. This was before he had even played a single down of regular season football for the Raiders, and Oakland were already looking for ways to get rid of him. The same day that Brown was released by the Raiders, he was signed by the Patriots. But those off-the-field allegations also led to AB being released just a day later. AB would play a couple more seasons in the league with the Tampa Bay Bucks, reuniting with Tom Brady. He missed the start of the first season due to being suspended by the NFL for violating the league's personal conduct policy. His return with Tampa might have given Brown a Super Bowl ring, but it also gave him the chance to completely ruin his reputation in the league. In the first season, AB destroyed a security camera and threw a bike at a security guard at his home. In the following season, AB had another blow-up in his final game of the season, this time coming against the New York Jets. Without letting the team know, Antonio Brown went into the final game of the season nursing an injury. In the third quarter, NFL fans watched in shock as Antonio Brown took his pads and his shirt off while on the Bucs sideline and headed straight to the locker room. This was the very end of his career in the NFL, and there was no way back for AB after charging up the sidelines. He passed through veteran waivers unsigned, and that was the very last time that Antonio Brown would be seen on an NFL roster. Despite everything that's happened to Antonio Brown, there are still plenty of people who defend him. He did graduate from Central Michigan in 2023, while also being a part of the ownership group for the Albany Empire of the National Arena League that went on to fold. Some of the stories about Antonio Brown might seem like they're overblown. Some of them might even seem like they're out to get AB. Plenty of NFL players have their own personal feuds with coaches or fellow teammates. He might have had a point with the Bucs if the team really did ignore his ankle injuries. Brown even said that he played through the pain of broken bone fragments stuck in his ankle alongside cartilage loss. The Raiders have proven to be a dysfunctional organization over the last decade, so maybe his mistakes can be forgiven. But I think his post-NFL career has shown just how weird Antonio Brown really is. While some of his behavior is odd, a lot of it is downright disgusting as well. In the last 3 years, Brown has been arrested for domestic assault, failed to make child support payments, and then arrested for failing to make those payments despite a judge's order. He's had more run-ins with the law than NFL touchdowns over the last few years, and it's disappointing to see for a guy who was once by far the best receiver in the NFL. This year, the behavior has even continued, with Brown even having to file for bankruptcy due to owing almost $3 million to multiple different creditors. This is a guy who earned more than $80 million across his career, having to file for bankruptcy because he could not pay off the debt that he'd racked up due to an assault lawsuit. But while all of this has been going on, there is still the weirdest part of Antonio Brown's actions that we haven't even talked about. What started off with posting his coach's post-game speech on Facebook has turned into AB having one of the most outspoken and controversial Twitter X accounts of any athlete in any sport. Those tweets have gone platinum over the last 12 months especially, with Brown getting even more outspoken and downright ridiculous than ever before. He's taken shots at pretty much everyone in sport, including the guys who helped him win a Super Bowl ring. AB took some completely unwarranted shots at Brady during his divorce from Gisele Bündchen, including AB sharing some massively offensive AI-generated images. Last year, Brown said that Brady treated him like a dog during the 2021 season for promising him targets and never delivering. It was some pretty shocking attacks from AB, especially because he lived in Brady's house after joining Tampa back in 2020. His Twitter X targets even reached WNBA sensation Caitlin Clark earlier this year. It seems like AB is a little bit jealous of the superstardom, saying that he thinks Clark is going to get plastic surgery once the professional basketball money starts rolling in. To the delight of many, AB even took some shots at the WNBA, saying that nobody watches the league and doubting the difficulty of becoming a professional basketball player. He even took some shots at Clark's boyfriend as well. And that's not even half of it. AB takes shots at pretty much everyone, and he puts down his outspoken views to having CTE from his playing days. That assumption even led to AB trying to sell CTE shirts and even making fun of other former NFL players who are concerned about the disease. There's no doubt that Antonio Brown has done plenty of strange things across his long career in the NFL and now in the media. But it's not just that AB is peculiar. His behavior is something that the NFL has very clearly and understandably tried to distance itself from. I don't know if there's ever been a player with more erratic and unbelievable behavior in the NFL than Antonio Brown. A lot of people are concerned about AB, and for good reason, because his behavior is downright despicable at times. I don't know if we're ever going to see a guy like Antonio Brown in the league ever again. But what do you think about Antonio Brown's strange behavior? Put your thoughts in the comments about AB. And if you don't want to miss any player profiles or anything NFL related, please like this video and subscribe. Thanks for being a part of the Yak Fam and making us part of your day.